So today we come to Greg Stump's fifth film, if you are in Europe. Alternatively, his seventh, if you are from America. Groove Requiem in the key of ski. Do you like 150 Days of Winter? But you are the YouTuber. You've always been the YouTuber.
I think I did a good job.
This has always been one of Greg's less well-known ski films. After the highs of Blizzard of Ours and License to Thrill, Groove Requiem has some very large footsteps to follow in. Previously, I rated this as my fifth favourite Greg Stump film. Even though there is no Glenn Plake, I'm hoping to give you some other reasons why you should check this out. Now, of course, if you don't have the DVD or VHS, you can buy the digital download directly from Greg at blizzardsnowstore.com. It's a great way to say thanks to Greg. And in the same way, if you want to say thank you to me, apart from, of course, subscribing to my channel, you can, of course, buy one of my t-shirts from T-shirt store. Again, the link is down below. And of course, as always, if you use the code STUMPY, I will give you an extra 10% off. As with many of his films, he makes reference to current affairs of the time, and in this case it's a small war in the Middle East. Just as a matter of record for the younger viewers, 1990 was the date of the first Iraq War, or it was also called the Gulf War. It was the first war where we saw videos of missiles flying through windows, which appeared on CN. It was the first, digital war, I'm going to say. And of course, we have for this film, a groove meter to help us keep count of what I feel are the high points of this film. The intermingled clips of the Gulf War contrast very well to the beauty and silence of the mountains. We start out with a visit to the World Cup circuit in Val Gardena, where we meet our first character, Canadian downhill racer Rob Boyd. Now, for those of you who might think filling a ski film of downhill racing is cheating, well, don't think of it like watching ESPN, but instead marvel at the slow motion footage of racers flying off jumps. Nowadays, with the FIS and their stricter filming rights, I doubt such footage would ever be available. Thankfully, we go on to see Rob Boyd in several of other Greg Stump's films. Then, of course, we have a nice little scene where we're introduced to Tom Youngst from Montana. And there is, like I said, a very nice sequence of Tom Youngst skiing through powder. We then get another World Cup scene, this time for moguls. I like mogul skiing, but again, you might say, yes, I know, it's just World Cup footage. Yeah, it's your choice. It's my video. Yeah, it gets at least 1 point. In many of his films, Greg Stump will insert non-skiing segments, and in this case we have Laird Hamilton attempting a loop on his surfboard. I'm not a surfer at all, but even I enjoy watching one of the best surfers make something very hard look very easy. Now we head over the Atlantic to Les Arcs with Davy, Dan, and of course we see our first new character, the multi-talented ace Mackay Smith, skier, artist, cinematographer, who was brought in to replace the injured Kim Reichhelm, who, if you saw License to Thrill, had it all coming together with a very large tree. And I think afterwards she also injured her ligaments. As a Canadian, I can never tell if she has been putting on that posh English accent for camera. However, a very good addition to the team. Fun fact, Ace did a season in Courchevel, my home, back in the 80s. I would love to know where she actually worked. Rather like Blizzard we meet another speed skier, and in this case it's American Jimbo Morgan. Very nice little interview, again, a very colourful character. We will be seeing him ski normally later. We then, of course, take a little detour to see Kevin Andrews in Chamonix. Again, silky smooth slow motion footage of Kevin skiing. As the narrator so eloquently puts it, nice to see a good old farm boy rip up Chamonix. Go back across the Atlantic, and of course where just after a massive storm in Mammoth we get to see Darren Johnson, Jason Jimbo and Davey McCoy skiing in the Powder. Again, very good little sequence. Of course we have another downhill segment, this time in Aspen. However, moves us nicely into a powder skiing segment in Aspen, accompanied by the prerequisited reggae. We head over to Blackcomb for the inaugural border cross event. When I first saw this, I thought it was just the first border cross event to happen at Blackcomb, but no, this was actually the inaugural border cross event, period. The birth of a new sport, thanks to Stephen Restaffner, please excuse me if I got your name wrong, and of course the director Greg Stump. That alone deserves a huge chunk of points. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, because I feel it needs it, Stephen and Greg had an idea for Greg Stump's World of Extremes, which was on Fox TV. Blackcomb put on the prize money and the snowcat time in order to build the first course. John Graham, Stump's business manager, came up with the name Border Cross, and after being seen on Fox TV, pardoning the pun, it all snowballed from there. Restaffner had trademarked the term border cross. He denied the skiing sanctioning body, the FIS, the rights to use the name, as he shared the majority of snowboarders' belief that a ski sanctioning body should not be in charge of snowboarding events. Very good. That's why the border cross is referred to by the FIS as snowboard cross. We then head up to the famed Sudan Ridge in Blackcomb for the Extreme Skiing Invitational. I think if you have a VHS version, this is accompanied by a better soundtrack than the DVD version. Again, great skiing, some very hairy crashes, and yes, a level of protection worthy of skiing in the 80s. So how do we end such a ski film? To butcher the Hollow Man, not with a whimper, but with a bang. For the last two segments, they head off to the Saina Lodge in Alaska, and the final sequence is the one that really does it for me, where of course we meet Vietnam veteran helicopter pilot Chet Simmons for his heli skiing operation. From the moment he pops that audio cassette and we get Seal's Crazy, we are then followed by 5 amazing minutes of Scot Schmidt and Donally in Alaska. And even after all this time, this still holds up. Even in a world of drones and GoPros and everything, this is 5 minutes of amazing ski footage. And as the credits roll, we see another of Ace's talents as she recreates a James Bond-esque title sequence with her go-go dancing skills. We then, of course, see what I think is a little bit of silliness in the credits, where Mr. Trump's list of titles, of duties, includes haberdasherer. Another Easter egg, in the thank you section, Wally and Beeve get a mention alongside of Marilyn Monroe and Nancy Sinatra. And of course, finally, the warmongers at the Pentagon. A nice little... So, music. What are my choice of albums to encompass the soundtrack of this film? Well, you have to start off with Seal, with his debut album, Seal, which I think has most of the tracks which are in this film. I think there might be one or two that aren't on there, but suffice to say, it's a great album. We are then, of course... 808 States album XL, which again has some very good little tracks in it. Now, one of my favourites is an album called Heart of Darkness by Hoodlum Priest. Hoodlum Priest used a lot of samples from films in their music. For instance, one of their tracks is called Tyrell, and of course that contains a lot of samples from the film Blade Runner. I'm a great film geek, so it really gets me on that. Then of course we have the Beatmasters album Any Way You Wanna, featuring the track Scar Train. And finally, for our hit of reggae, we're back with Alpha Blondy with their track Jerusalem, and that's on their album Best of Alpha Blondy. So there you have it. That was Groove Requiem in the key of ski. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, I would love to read them down below. Alternatively, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and I will see you all in the next review, which will probably be Licensed to Thrill, because I like doing things out of order. And on that, I will see you in the next review. Ciao.